Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cyber Witch. I'm just going to give it a moment for the people from the other stream to migrate over here. We hope you're all doing well. Welcome to our weekly live chat, Interdimensional Discussions. And today we have a very gross topic. Parasites.
Yes.
Physical and astral.
Physical and astral. And sorry for the little weirdness there, but I'm sure everybody will make their way over here. And it seems like everybody is. Yay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So yeah, we're talking about parasites, and it's rather gross to think about it on the physical nature, but it's also astral and etheric and energetic also, especially if you're doing any kind of occult work or spiritual work or meditation, you're prone to take on some form of notice from something else. And sometimes when these things attach into your energetic body, they actually create physical things, and these can be actually a various form of parasites. And it's I'm a big I'm a big advocate, I guess, for parasite cleansing and cleansing in general. And you've had your recent experiences with it too, which I knew you.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make this video, because I recently had experiences with parasite cleansing. I was not, for what it's worth, trying to do a physical parasite cleanse, but because of the spiritual work I was doing, it ended up happening. And once you go through that kind of experience and you can actually see the things that live inside the human organism,
100%.
that is truly shocking and life-changing. And so
yeah, no, it really is, and it's we have to understand that the physical body is basically like the manifestation of our blueprint. So even the things that we have physical are also on the etheric level and rather the astral level. And these astral parasites, or even we can call them etheric parasites, and the etheric body is different than the astral body. The etheric body is closer to the physical body. We can look at the etheric body as like the blueprint for the physical body. It's your energetic body that's a replica of what you are realistically. And that holds all the encoding. So when something attaches to you on the astral, it's going to encode into the etheric body and then eventually become part of your body. And this happens with energy, but it also happens with food. Like if you're like, I love sushi. You love sushi.
I love sushi. And unfortunately, that is a really big way that people can get parasites. It's also, I used to be a swimmer, and I would swim a lot in lakes.
You can get it barefoot hiking. You can get it sleeping outside, camping. I mean, there's various different forms of parasites, and most of the time people don't even realize they have them. I mean, they're not going to kill you. Sometimes, if you have like a tapeworm or something, that's going to be pretty bad,
but they will affect the way that you feel and your overall health. And
your energy levels
greatly. Ever since it happened to me where the creatures started leaving my body, I feel amazing. Like I've always had different health problems which is also why I work so hard to be healthy, to mitigate that. And this really affected it.
Nicola here actually was already saying, I don't eat meat at all, so I'm reducing a risk of getting any parasites, I guess. From my background in nutrition and diet and working in high levels of the kinesiology world, it not so much. It's going to greatly depend on the quality. It's quality. So let's say you love eating red meat. Let's say you do love eating red meat, but you're buying stuff at Walmart, or you're buying stuff at, the typical grocery store, not from like a real butcher or somebody has real livestock. There's a massive difference in it. So depending on where your meat is sourced, yes, you could be ingesting parasites with fish at the store and, make sure it's cooked, but your source is highly, highly dependent on it, so not eating meat does not expel you from any kind of parasite, because
you
got
can
to
get
think
it from nature.
You can get it from nature, and everybody has
Mhm.
them, you know, and everything. Everybody's like, oh, I don't have it. Oh no, I eat really healthy. It's like, I was a vegan for years and I still went through parasite cleanse, you know, like hardcore vegan. I still went through parasite cleanses at least once or twice a year. Mine were rather rigorous, or very, very heavy ones. Like, you know, like we were talking the other day, where there's various levels of
There's
it.
all different types of things that you can do to help eliminate parasites out of your body.
Well, Nicholas brought up the pumpkin seeds too, clear body of parasites. It helps with the elimination. Yes. I mean, the phytonutrients and the micronutrients in it will start to work as an anti-parasitic. But yes, they will. But so will papaya seeds.
But like,
there's other things.
You can really get parasites from so much stuff. It's not just raw fish. So, we're, you know, David's comment about, like, do you have to eat rice with this I don't think, I think like if you're swallowing like eggs to parasites, or like whatever creates parasites, you don't need it. It doesn't matter if you're eating rice with it or like something else. It's just going into your body. It's eating you.
Yeah.
It doesn't care about the rice. It wants you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Wolf Bright here says, I never knew that sushi was dangerous. It's not, but
right. It's not.
It is, and it's not. You know, if you're going to a place,
sus sushi is, and
yes.
I've eaten tons of sus sushi, like tons.
Yeah,
I love
if you're going to an all-you-can-eat sushi buffet, chances are they're probably not getting their fish flown in like fresh constantly every day.
But this is not some sort of like talk about not eating sushi, like, because you can get these types of parasites in your body from from literally anything, from unclean environments. It doesn't just have to be something you're eating, or like a raw meat or something like that.
Yeah. And you know, spiritual practice, I think, has a big play in it, especially if you're working on like a higher vibration of a spiritual practice, because a lot of the parasites that become physical manifestations of like the astral and the etheric ones, those are expelled also vibrationally. So if you're raising your mental pattern up and your emotional pattern up, and you're raising your frequency higher, those astral and etheric parasites aren't going to be able to exist in the energetic field. So you'll start naturally expelling the physical ones that occurred too. And there's the new books that, you know, we just released on the Violet Gateway with Yogi Ramacharaka and Swami Panjandasi, which is really just William Walker Atkinson under his different pseudonyms. He talks a lot about elimination and healthy gut biome and intestinal flora. And it's super important when we're working spiritually, not only just in the health field, but also when you're working spiritually, because if we cleanse out the physical body, our etheric body and our physical body is communicating so much cleaner, you know?
Yeah. And just to help, I suppose, simplify the things that you've just been speaking upon for people that someone that might just be tuning in now, what Vermilion is saying is that, yes, you can get physical parasites from so many environmental factors through life. In fact, most humans will have them. It's normal to have it. It's actually abnormal in society to not be cleansing them. And that's something that's very unique here in the West, where people don't really pay mind to that. But in other cultures, it's very normal to like do things where you're cleansing parasites out of your body. But then also, when it comes to the astral parasites, where it's energetic forces that feed off of your emotions, your energy, your astral body, your overall prana, they can also start turning into literal physical parasites in your body that when you eliminate them, you can actually see.
Yeah. And, you know, that has a lot to do with the mind patterns, because, you know, perhaps that astral attachment's now making you want to eat these things and do these things and go into these kind of environments and do these kind of things to be able to obtain them. So there's always a physical action to obtaining them.
Like the thing that came out of my body when the spiritual parasite cleansing started happening to me, like that thing definitely had some sort of consciousness. There's no way that it didn't. It was literally like a creature. And I don't want to be gross,
It's
so I'm
gross.
just gonna leave it at that.
It
But
looks like creatures.
yeah, they're a creature. Yeah.
Doing this work for a long time and like giving cleanses and dietary advice in the spiritual nature, not just in my. We didn't do a lot of parasite cleanses in the sports thing. It was kind of, it was if or not. But in the spiritual nature, I've done this for a long time with people that have a strong meditation regimen or a spiritual practice, and it's exponential because when you go through it, you can see some crazy things. Like I seen this one thing that somebody sent me that looked like this black worm, like black as black can be worm, but it had like pinchers on the end of it, and this came out of them. This was inside of them. And as crazy and horrific as that sounds, and not saying that everybody has that one in it, but there's like specific formations and growths that happen within our biome inside, which is a whole other universe, just like our external.
Yeah.
So there's good and there's bad.
The reason why it's so important to talk about this is that, like, here in the West, there is it's seen as like fringe and kind of weird to think about this type of stuff. But in other cultures, it's very normal to understand that the human body gets parasites in it just normally, just like Wolfbright's saying, there's no place to hide. Like, it just happens. Just like how with animals, they go to the vet and get like dewormed once a year. These same kind of things from being exposed to the environment happen to us for whatever reason. And it's important because on this channel, we really focus on holistic care. And so that's all about health for mind, body, and everything else.
Wellness in general.
Yeah. And so this is so important for people to think about. Like, it could even be that a lot of the problems that you might be having with your health are related to this.
Yeah. Even sleep patterns, dietary changes. Like, let's say you love sweets and you're like, wow, why can't I get over wanting cake every night? why can't I? More than chances are you probably have a parasite, and they want it. You know what I'm saying? And if you keep going on and never deal with it, whatever. But if you start changing dietary principles on the micronutrient level with like a lot of greens, a lot of herbs, greens powders, apple cider vinegar, garlic, like real garlic.
Raw
you start
garlic.
adding real things into your diet. Even if you're just eating normal things, the micronutrients are going to pop up and start processing everything a lot different. And these things that want to live in your body, the negative ones, because there's positive ones too. Like, and that's the thing, like, you want positive intestinal flora. You want that, but the negative intestinal flora is what causes people to have these problems. Let's say you have random skin bumps or rashes, or your vision might not be the best, or whatever kind of physical ailment. I always like to go, well, let's start cleansing and let's start getting the impurities out of the body first before we take it on a massive level.
That's a great point. And so what Nicola is asking is, if you are too afraid of astral parasites, could it be that you create them out of the same fear? You can attract them more, for sure, if you're being afraid. Yeah.
It's vibrational. If you're living in that fear pattern and that vibration, then you're kind of allowing whatever is also operating at that vibration, but possibly in an inverse to come in and meddle. And it might be, you never know about it. Next thing you know, just stuff starts being different, and you just have an astral attachment of some sort.
And one of that kind of situations, what always really helped me when I was first kind of like getting over that reality of the fear of these things is, well, if something is trying to do that to you, it's because you have power and it wants to feed off of that. So you're actually the one that has the power in the situation if something else is trying to use you. So you can just take that power back by taking control over your mind. That's the stuff that I study as a yoga teacher. It's the philosophy of how to control your mind, and thus everything else falls into place.
100%. Yeah, Mist Labyrinth and Void says, and gut health is linked to the brain health. So as above, so below. The parasites in your gut might resemble what they're doing to your mind. 100%. I was just in a class last night where we talked about this heavily, about gut health and understanding that your intestinal region, your solar plexus in the chakra zone, even the sacral, but more so the solar plexus too, is going to be that connection to the mind, and how we get rid of all that. Our mind also is going to be clearer. I went through a massive cleanse years and years and years ago, and it was harsh, very harsh, and they took it off the market. It was called Miracle Mineral Supplement, MMS. And do some research. It works really well. Don't go crazy with it. If you try to do it, just do it 1 or 2 drops, 3 drops. That's all you need. But I went through this for like 6 months, and there was a moment within like the 3-week period, even just 3 weeks in, I woke up and I seen colors like I've never seen colors before.
Wow.
And for me to say that, and my work is done with colors, and a lot of the work I talk about is colors. They're colors. I was like, wow, red is red. Like you could start seeing the spectrum of color almost. And it was amazing. So you could look at something like blue and know kind of like, oh, that's like this kind of blue. It's like, it was just a different wave pattern. The lines on your hand looked clearer. Everything became very perceptual. And it was all because of this. And that was the only thing I changed in my diet and my process, was doing this type of cleanse. And the energetic differences was dramatic,
Oh,
so
absolutely.
it's so important. So important.
Can you tell anyone that is unfamiliar with your background about your background in education and learning about these things, so people understand we're not just like some crazy people?
Yeah, no, I have a full background in like kinesiology, and went to college for kinesiology, studied health and nutrition my whole life. And outside of doing the spiritual things, probably for coming up on 20 years now, and talking publicly and talking to people, but it's like this is widely talked about in normal health and fitness, like normal health and fitness. The people that I worked with that were training athletes, like football players and high elite golfers, even and basketball players, this was just kind of a normal thing, but it was like wrapped into the diet everybody was doing. It was just a natural cleansing thing. We didn't really have to worry about it. It was in a process, but it was for performance. It wasn't for spirituality. I personally found more help in the spirituality than I would performance, because it ignites your dreaming, it ignites your meditations, your psychic clarity, and your awareness. It is so much clearer. And it's very important. I feel that it's, you don't even have to change the way you eat. If you like eating fried chicken all day long with like mashed potatoes, and go ahead, but it's just, you need to do the cleansing part of it to be able to expel the bad, get your gut biome in tune, because those lower centers are so important to the higher centers, because we can't access the higher centers properly without having a balanced lower centers within the chakra system. That's just not the way it works. It's unfortunate. It's not the way it works, but you have to have your lower system in operation, your physical ones that are dealing with your physical elements around you, before the mental ones really open up.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of great comments, and a lot of really like hilarious comments. Like, yeah, obviously this is my boyfriend. We live together. We do a live stream every week.
she wants
yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's good. I would hope so, right? Like, I don't think that you would want a girlfriend that didn't want you.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's very strange conversation. It makes me wonder, like, are the parasites in this person like trying to derail the conversation into some kind of like weird thing that doesn't make any sense? Like, yeah, of course, like we do a live stream together every week. Like, come see us connect to you. But like, yeah.
Nicola says here, just avoid meat, eat lots of pumpkin seeds. The thing is, Nicola, meat's not the culprit. It's really not. I was a vegan for years, like hardcore raw vegan, like very, like I have notes,
also,
and
I was a vegan for 7, so I don't know if you, I was like 7 years, and then I was a raw vegan for about like 6 months. And that was crazy. But
Yep.
still, I'm sure I was filling myself with parasites during that time,
and
because
you
like
can.
I was out in the woods, like walking around with my shoes off.
And you still can. But the
Mhm.
thing is, like, meat is actually a really good thing for our physical body. Now,
Mhm.
do you need to be eating steak every single day and like loading up? No, hell no. Once a week, once every 2 weeks, having actual some kind of meat protein does absolute wonders for the body. Just make sure, if you're a vegetarian or a vegetarian or vegan that wants to experiment with it, that you get really high quality, because it is to deal with the energetics of it. Like, you just have to have that, even if it's just once, and you're like, oh man, wow, I feel a little bit better. That's crazy. Like, okay, I just don't want to eat it again. It's a big thing. And I somebody that's been a vegetarian and a vegan, and somebody that, you know, studied with like yogis and did all these retreats and cleanses and diets, it's like, when it comes down to the actual logic and the physical makeup of our bodies, including the etheric and the astral, the meat is a big factor in it. Even if it's 98% vegetarian, great. Eat an egg, have a little bit of meat once in a great while, and it's not going to karmically hurt you. Your body actually wants it. It's going to karmically thank you. Like,
I think
it's your vessel.
A big thing is like, the conversation today isn't about not eating things. Although after my experiences, I would definitely like suggest being careful of just randomly eating just any raw fish that
You don't
just
do it.
You feel like it, because that's what I have done.
Sushi's so good.
But sushi,
I've eaten a lot.
I'm not talking about sushi.
No, I know, but
I'm talking about like really sketchy sushi, or just eating raw fish that that's not sushi grade fish. That's what I'm talking about. If you really want to like be careful of one thing, don't eat raw, non sushi grade fish. And what that means is fish that has not been checked to make sure it has no parasites in it raw. Don't do that. If you're not going to, but the main thing is like just adding in other things into your diet that will help cleanse parasites out of you in natural ways, like what people were talking about with the pumpkin seeds. That's what my teacher was telling me to do too, just the other day. We were talking about this.
Pumpkin seeds, apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar.
Apple cider vinegar is big, but with the mother, it has to be with the mother, not like there's a bunch of like apple cider gummies and stuff. Yes, apple cider in general is good for you, but the mother is what actually, like, you know, it's just, if you eat raw fish, any kind of raw meat, it's going to cause some kind of parasite. It's just the way it is. If you eat plants that have small eggs that you don't even know on it, and they can hatch.
That's such a good point.
It's not about meat.
It's not about being afraid of food that you're eating. Just add in some other stuff into your diet. That's super easy to do. And just be aware that like this stuff is real, and it affects people, and it will affect your health. I was looking at the symptoms of it, and it was stuff like fatigue, bloating, problems with your going to the bathroom, like feeling tired,
and
itching.
It's like diarrhea. Like, diarrhea is a big culprit of it, and you know, and nobody wants to talk about those things because it's gross. But if we're all occultists, and you know, like the darker side of things, those gross things are good. You know, we need to know about that because it's us. You know, pay attention to what you're doing. You know, with it. You know, and it's.
Well, the
quality of meat,
the elimination of things is also one of the types of prana.
It is
eliminating things out of your body, just like bringing it in.
If we're not eliminating things properly, we're not absorbing things properly, and we're not able to take on more of the energetic field. And if you have a very advanced meditation practice where you can enter these ecstatic states of meditation, but you've never gone through this process, it's going to tenfold it. Like tenfold it. It's part of ascension. And when, you know, people have my book Asaic Alexa, I mentioned in there that you can take the body with you in ascension. It's very hard. It's not like, it's very hard. Like, you have to go through rigorous cleansing, dietary changes, like tons of different things, but it can very much happen. You know, there's people out there that don't eat. They're breatharians, and I've met people. You know, I have a person that I'm really close to that is like on the verge of becoming a breatharian. then that's amazing. But that just means that they're in that vibration. It's not for everybody. And so the distinction has to be made of like, there is a specific difference between every single person when it comes to diet and gut biome and parasites. And it's just everybody has to start somewhere.
Also,
it's very specific sometimes when you get into the deeper things.
When we're talking about spiritual parasites, it doesn't matter like what you're eating, because these things are essentially just draining your energy and then can result in, through some way or another, you're going to pick up some kind of physical manifestation into your body of it.
Yeah. 100%. And that's going to come on the you know, the work, you know, and I gave you a couple of things. Like, hey, do this, you know, try this, and also next thing you know, it just kickstarted the process more. And
it was truly horrifying, and that's why we're talking about this today. We are having this live stream because I'm so mind blown of the creature that came out of my body when I started working on more of my energy field and like healing it and cleansing it. And then this happened. And we're going to do more like supplement based parasite cleansings. And so I can talk to you guys about my experiences with that.
I mean, it goes deeper, even deeper with that too, because we can go like, okay, are we dealing with energetics of heat? Are we doing energetics of cold? Are we dealing with dampness or dryness? Or, you know, there's a lot of factors when it comes to, you know, even the supplemental side of things. And, you know, which it's interesting to experiment, you know. The United Virtues says here, how does fasting help? Pretty much starving them. I mean, we're going to do a fast to be able to expel parasites. You're just starving them. That's really what you're doing to them. But fasting also helps the biorhythms of the body kind of reset itself and start cleansing out at a cellular level too. Fasting is very important, I feel. You know, 3-day fasts are probably the best because your body doesn't start kicking into that mode until 3 days. It's just hard. Do water fasts, juice fasts, something that's a little easier on the body rather than just not eating altogether.
Also be careful, like depending on what you do during the day, like if you have a job that has a lot of intense physical labor, it might be dangerous for you to do something like that because of how it affects your blood sugar. So you got to just think about how you can do it safely, or like doing it during a time when you know, you have time off or the weekend or something.
Yeah. Like give yourself 3 days to get into it.
Because if you've never fasted before, like, and you try, you're going to be like, wow, this really affects how I feel. You'll probably feel shaky, confused, dizzy.
Headache.
Yeah. So
the headache will probably set in like day
hard.
2. Yeah. And your body is going to go through a process called ketosis, which is rather kind of dangerous to be in for long periods of time, even though like the Atkins diet and these high fat, low carb diets are in the rave because it makes you lose weight. It's bad for it to be because it's a form of ammonia that gets released in the body. So when you're going through a state of ketosis, it's ammonia and it goes into your body. And then you have to also then cleanse out of the ammonia. So doing it for 3, 5, 7 days in a fast is one thing, but if people are like living in a life of low carb, constant ketosis, it's actually quite bad for you. It is kind of good for your brain. Your brain operates differently, but we can enter those states through proper fasting, you know. So the best is to only go into it slowly, you know, even if it's like, okay, I'm going to intermittent fast where I don't eat anything for the first 14 hours of the day, and then for the last 3 hours a day where I'm up, I'm going to eat something. You know, it's very important to do that because you don't know how your body's going to react. You could be absolutely
this is not medical advice. This is a discussion of personal hobbies for entertainment for you. So you can look into this for yourself. Everyone is different. Like, we all have different shaped bodies. It's normal for people in the world to have different body types. So what one person does is not going to be suitable for someone else.
Yeah, no, everybody's different, you know, just like sometimes vegetarian diets actually work really well with people, you know, and it depends on tons of different factors.
Yeah, like for me, it's what my body feels like ingesting at any given period of time. That's why even though I eat mostly a vegetarian diet, I'm not going to tell people I'm a vegetarian because I'm not, even though I kind of am, but I'm not really.
Yeah.
So I'm not in any way that like any person trying to be PC about it would
It was
accept.
like 97%
Yeah. So like
of your diet.
what people would
is
say
like
is I would say it's like
vegetarian.
I live a very heavily plant-based diet.
Yeah.
But there are certain times
you live a balanced, healthy diet.
when I'm not eating pizza from the gas station or candy, but like I'm going to do that because I want to enjoy being alive. I'm
Right.
not going to just only eat a super restricted diet because that itself is like not healthy for you.
It's not,
Mhm.
you know, and I come from a world of extreme dieting because I've experimented with diets for like, oh, how can I follow this diet
And
for a
like
month and get
bodybuilding.
out in bodybuilding, but
Yeah.
also like what kind of diet can I follow to help me get out of body like that? What kind of diet will give me crazy lucid dreams and full control over them, you know? So like I've done all those very intricate processes, and the big factor of it, what's best for everybody is balance, like, and only balance. It's the only way to go about doing it. And then you can go, oh, you know what, I kind of want to be 75% plant-based, you know, I think it feels better to me to be able to do that. And okay, do it, you know. It's very healthy one way or the other.
Absolutely. Let's talk about astral parasites for topic now.
Yeah.
In general. So like you can attract astral parasites to you depending on what you do, what you think, especially like whatever spiritual practices you're doing. One of the things that I always want to say to people is like, okay, is your spiritual practice actually working for you? Are you happy with how your life is? Or is it attracting forces into your life that you don't want?
Right. Yeah.
Because that's how it works. When you start raising your energy field, no matter what you're doing spiritually, it's going to attract the attention of other things that will try to feed off of your energy, attach themselves to you, and make your life hard by a lot of different things. They can help to influence your emotions. So you experience negative emotions, making you tired, lazy, draining your energy, making you make stupid choices and decisions as well. That's like a big one. Stupid choices.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the astral parasites, is because if you're doing any form of spiritual work, you're opening yourself up to some form of attachments. You know, no matter if we're doing, you know, protections. That's why I like violet, because it allows you to still kind of have good, positive experiences within the protection, but filters out all the negative. You know, so it's not going to get rid of everything. It's going to allow the good, but get out the negative. When we do that, our mind patterns change, our actions change, our emotions change, and next thing you know, you don't have the same patterns making you choose the same things anymore, because your attachments, or the energies that are coming to you and attaching to you and trying to experience out of you, can't exist anymore. You know? Jack C says, had terrible afflictions during active addiction, for sure. And, you know, as much as drugs or any form of inebriants can be rather conscious altering, we do, you know, if we get into a pattern, we open up ourselves to really, really bad things.
Oh yeah, you could go down some crazy rabbit holes that develop psychosis from things attaching to you because you're opening up these channels. Like the mind is so powerful, and people don't realize that it's not just about like the spirit that you're calling whenever you're doing any kind of prayer. When you're doing that, you're opening up an interdimensional field around yourself and calling in whatever is going to listen. And so that's why there's so much for people to actually learn, instead of just, you know, just doing whatever.
Yeah. You know, and one of the big things, any kind of spiritual like practice that you're doing, it's important to make sure that you're not just allowing anything. Like, you know, there's a lot out there that's like, oh, just let something come to you and just give up, and you know, like, just allow some contact. That's really going to be detrimental too, because it's going to, you know, connect you to things that are more of a astral parasite in general, you know, and then next thing you know, you're going to have etheric issues and physical issues. And
yeah. And so okay, people want to hear about the story of the parasite. Well, you see, it's not really a story that I would like to go into a lot of details about because it is very gross. But so I have been doing a lot more work on my energy field and putting visualizations into my body as part of the tantric work that I do every single day. And I also have been doing that in conjunction with taking like a lot more vitamins than I have been. I already take a lot of vitamins. I'd actually like to, if people are interested, maybe show people that someday, like in a video, like all the stuff that I do in a day to try to maintain my health. Because it seems like a lot, but when you get used to it, it's really not that big of a deal. But the ability to notice a difference is astounding. And then, so I was just being even more healthy. And all of a sudden I had this experience just a few days ago where a parasite came out of my body, and it was something I could see. It was something that looked like a creature, like like something that you would see in the ocean, like a worm-like creature. That's the best way you could explain it. Like had a body and like everything, and like a little kind of face area, and big.
That's the worst.
Big, like this, like the size of a lighter.
Yeah.
Like it was something that, like, once that happens to you, you're like, wow, like what else is going on in there? so and because I've always had people tell me like about this whole like idea of like cleansing parasite cleanses. You were even telling me about this too, like when we first started living together. You were like, hey, like let's do like a parasite cleanse, and we were just casually talking about it, and I was like, yeah, sure, but we never ended up doing it. And so these things can be catalyzed by doing different things to alter your diet. Me adding in all those extra vitamins that I have been taking made a big difference, as well as the energy work to get the process started. But then there's also all different kinds of actual like medicinal cleanses that you can do as well, which I have not done, which I am interested in doing and learning more about. Well, but
Night Seer Tarot here says colonic hydrotherapy, my dudes. Yeah, colonic hydrotherapy, if people are comfortable with it, yeah, for sure. And those people that work in that field well know about parasites, because they have seen more things than more people would not want to see.
Shamaz was saying like they can look like spiders, like worms.
Spiders, worms. They could be moving, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could be...
It was not alive.
Yeah.
It was not alive. I'm glad it was not alive.
No, in the rejuvenation of it, because this thing is now dead and not living off of your energy. It's very, very important. Like, you know, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, like I feel great. After it, that, but also like really grossed out, because like that thing was definitely in me for a long time for it to get that big. So
you know, and you know, I agree with Wolf Bright. I mean, sometimes people should get, you know, medically checked out about certain things, but it's you know, it's the medical arena, they don't know anything.
Also,
like,
also for what it's worth, like
sometimes there'll be a parasitic like infestation if you like drink like water in some countries.
And you guys don't need to worry. Like definitely for your own health, you want to make sure that you have help, not just looking up stuff on the internet. Like, for example, right, like my boyfriend here has a background in nutrition and health, And then also I meet with my teacher every week who's an Ayurvedic doctor and talk about these things. So like my whole like what vitamins I take, the foods I eat, all of this stuff is overseen by like a team of people. I'm not just like looking up stuff on the internet and making up decisions without that help from educated people.
Right. Yeah. And that's why I agree with, him all the time. I'm like, yep. Facts. Like it's facts, and it's a weird world, it's a really weird world inside of us, even spiritually, and they say, oh, you're the key to enlightenment's inside. Yeah, it is, but there's also a whole other universe inside of it, and there's good bacteria, there's bad bacteria, there's good formations of parasite type things, there's bad formations of it, and it's like it's the same thing with cells. There's good and bad cells too. If we have an overaction of bad cells, we end up getting cancer and all these other types of diseases. And it's like that there's good and bad, and everything itself is a vibration. So the spiritual work that we do is very important. That's why a lot of times and when I used to do physical workshops with people and we'd go through a lot of guided meditation and release work, they would all hit me up the next day. I'd have tons of emails being like, oh my God, I have gone to the bathroom like tons of times and like, what's going on? It's because of this, you're releasing so much stuff, even energetically. And when we start doing the cleanses on our physical body, it allows that process to expand.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to expound upon what people are asking. Yes, my teacher is Craig Williams, and Vermilion publishes his books. They're amazing. You can find them on thevioletgateway.com in the description of this video. And you're going to be releasing another one of his books in the coming months about
the
his Agori stuff.
Yes,
That's so exciting.
I'm so excited about that book. It's going to be good. It's going to be very good. And I like Craig's work, especially where he's going with it. It's very straight to the point and no frills, which I love.
I'm going to go let the cat out so he stops scratching at the door.
Probably a good idea. Wolf, modern medicine is crap, and I can't say I've ever gone to a doctor and they've told me things that actually help. It's they'll give you medications and certain pills and all that kind of stuff, but I would rather take like a pills at like some supplement shop and do it properly and get the system right. Because if we're not doing that, we're missing a massive part of it. And it doesn't mean people have to change their diet, especially if they're not looking for like sports or anything like that. It just means we have to get the biome right and look at micronutrients versus macronutrients. Micronutrients is like the sheath between our etheric body and our physical body. If we look at macronutrients, the thing that allows our physical body to grow, our fats, our carbohydrates, or proteins, we have to look at the micronutrients of it to be able to make it all work. We have to be able to energetically synthesize our energetic body to our physical body. And then everything just turns out better. You're like, wow, I have so much more energy. Wow, my work and play and love life is so much better. And it all transponds and coalesces to our inner health and our outer health to do it. Bright says he's been taking Grun's greens and nootropics lately, and they've actually do work as advertised. Yeah, no, those are great supplements. I love greens powder. We have a lot of it. The nootropics is phenomenal. Taking things like L-theanine, L-tyrosine, most of the amino acids, along with like HTP and like GABA and stuff like that before you go to bed. Fantastic. Like it is so good for you. 30 to about hour before bed, take some 5-HTP, and it don't get addicted to it. But you take that, and the chances of you actually having more of a lucid dream is very, very possible. And it's like we can use certain things to be able to supplement our diet and our mind to be able to even induce spiritual experiences. And that it's a big part of practicing getting fully out of body is there might be some things to help you, and there really is. And you can find them in foods like blueberries before bed, blackberries, phenomenal. The phytonutrients and the micronutrients in it is huge, especially right before bed, because it's going to stimulate those awake and sleep processes. It's really cool. Edward K. Void says, John, what is your take on the W word?
On we're allowed to it's legal here.
It's legal here. Yeah.
On the reefer,
the medical marijuana. Yeah, I mean, it's a plant. It's natural. It can be good. It's what I call an ally when it comes to spiritual awareness to some degree, but it's a very a jealous ally.
It depends who you are as a person. Some people can handle it, some people can't. It just
Yep.
depends on how the spirit of that plant interacts with you.
Yep. You know, and so it's the same thing with any form of natural occurring, you know, plant or fungi.
Yeah.
It has its good and its bad, and they're allies within our consciousness exploration. But if we get hooked on it, the reefer is definitely the jealous one of them all, and that's why a lot of people just can get hooked on it really easily, and they can't stop. They're like, oh, it's not really affecting me, and you know, we have to admit that in some way, shape, or form, it is affecting us, and as long as we're not. I've met some we'll put it this way, I've met some very successful, highly educated, highly intuitive people that one would consider you know, can't get rid of that addiction, you know, but they're highly successful and that never harmed them. So we have to pay attention, again, the uniqueness of everybody. How is it affecting you? What's it doing to you? And
yeah, like, is it making you so, like, for example, analyzing it from a yogic perspective, these different substances all have different kinds of energies. So the yogis would call this tamasic. So it has an energy of slowing down, putting things to a stop, kind of like taking your energy and changing it in that way. So if you need that in your lifestyle in some way, that can be very helpful.
Yeah.
But it doesn't go if you need to be doing other things. So it just really depends on who you are. I'm a big fan. I've really benefited from the medical aspects of it through my life. And I think it's a really great plant.
And as practitioners, we have to understand that it does put you in the astral. Like, we might not be astral projecting, we might not be, you know, consciously trying to get there, but using it does put you more in the astral than your conscious awareness. So it does hinge you there. And that's, as a practitioner, I feel it's always important to know, because how can we use it to launch? How can, you know, there's certain things that we can utilize, but just know that it just kind of immediately puts you in the astral, and that's not always a good thing.
But it's also like way better than a lot of the other things that people do that completely destroy their minds, like other substances that are like, people think they're having all these spiritual experiences and they're just like whacked out of their mind on some pill or whatever, on something they're smoking that's not weed, and they're just thinking they're talking to all these spirits, and their life is just falling apart all around them. And you see that all the time, and it's really unfortunate. I deal with it a lot because I work as a spiritual counselor. So this kind of stuff happens to people, or people consume a lot of media online by people that are going through this and then think it's just so easy to just have spirits talk to you like that. But they don't realize those people are on substances. So, like, you know, that in a sense is a parasite in itself, right? Like the egregore of these things that you're using to basically distort your mind, it can get a mind of its own and feeds off of itself, becoming more and more real the more energy you put into it. And I've definitely seen that happen to people before. It's really frightening.
It is. It is. You know, I want to comment on Chaos Flower's comment here. I'm not going to read it, Chaos Flower, just because, but you know what I'm talking to here. Because of the AS that you mentioned there, make sure that if you've done that, make sure you use a lot of like milk thistle and certain things like dim will also help. Sometimes the pituitary gland doesn't come back on fully without proper PCT. So hopefully there's some kind of PCT protocol that you've taken. It's never too late. Definitely certain things like milk thistle and cleansing out the liver is going to be very important in that aspect. Mason says I'm scared of iPhone users. Yeah. You know, working in telecommunications a little bit in my life, I realized that the amount of AI and scanning that phones really have are way beyond what people even know is happening.
It just makes me think of Iron Sky 2. Have you seen Iron Sky 2? Mason Ridgewell. There's a whole thing with that in there.
Wisdom applies as I feel drained if I talk to spirits too long. That's kind of normal. I mean, they're no matter what, even if we're talking about a lower astral spirit, they're still higher in vibration technically than we are, you know. So there is going to be some kind of assemblage shift, and it's going to drain you, you know. Now we have to look at it like, was it intentional draining of a vampiric nature, or was it just, you know, like, whew, that was intense, I'm just tired, I need to sleep.
Yeah, and who said it in the comments? Edward saying, I'm afraid of Molly users. Yeah, so like when I was a teenager, and in my early 20s, like when I lived in California, I was a really big part of like all that kind of culture. And I really had to go out of my way now, like especially now, I don't want to talk to or associate with people that are doing like those kind of chemicals, that kind of stuff, because it really just creates like so much delusion in people. As much as it obviously, like the reason why it becomes so powerful over people, and I even had problems with that when I was younger too, is because of how it is like a parasite on you, these kind of things. And it just, I've just at this point in life worked really hard to get away from all that kind of stuff. And I just have no desire to associate with people that are part of that, because a big part of it is like when your mind is getting distorted so much, you become untrustworthy because you don't even know what the hell's going on.
What's reality?
Yeah.
It's hard to, if people don't know their own reality, it's hard to believe what they're.
Yeah. So I just don't associate with people that like that at all anymore.
Sorry, the United Virtue says, was Wilson from Castaway a spirit? You know, I've had to watch that movie so many times, and there's you know, if anybody knows about the larger picture of the symbolism of Wilson and the actor, it's quite disgusting. But you know, I think it's probably a spirit of something that they probably did in real life at some point. But it's funny you bring that up.
So we're also going to really try to focus for the rest of the time on the topic today. For people that have questions about spirit evocation, definitely check out the different classes that we have on our websites linked in the description of this video if that's what you have questions about, or if you do want to talk to us about spirits and that kind of stuff for your own personal questions, you can book time with us and talk about it on our websites. But parasites are affecting people's health, and we also experience things like, for example, socially, like when you're around someone, people are talking about vampirism. We can even look at it as an example of like the people that come into chat who don't really care about what we have to say, but are just asking questions just to take us off the topic, because they don't actually,
whatever.
They're just asking like whatever to like take you off track, take you off the topic that you want to talk about. That in itself, like socially parasitic energies, right? Like you want to think about, how do I feel when I'm interacting with a person? Is it making me feel drained? Or even like, you know, that thing where like something might happen and you keep kind of like brooding on it, being like, why did that person do this? Or I can't believe that this happened. Like that itself is like an energetic parasite on you, because you're just like feeding that miasma with your energy.
You know, where are you giving your energy to? You know, and the thoughts and everything like that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so for people that need help with like removing spirit attachments, and we're not talking about like a parasitic entity caused by like if it's something that's caused by your environment, then the way you get rid of it is you change your environment. You change the things that you think about all day long. You change the stuff that you look at all day long, and you do work to change your life around. That's how you do that. If you have some kind of like crazy paranormal situation where you've like summoned a bunch of stuff, or somebody did something to you and you need like help and you need me to look into that situation, please book a consultation with me privately on my website, and I can help you look into your own personal situation. But I'm just talking about general energy interaction. People doing some kind of like crazy witchcraft, that's a whole other ball game, and that's not what we're talking about today.
Before we go to, I want to mention what Chaos Flower says, like, I don't believe in social vampires. We are here to give and take to some degree. I believe in that too. Vampirism is a natural empathic ability every single person has.
Yeah, I really
and when
like
it comes
that.
to vampirism, what are we using it for? Are we taking the bad and helping transmute it, or are we just taking to take? And I've in my practices, I've met some very high, high initiated real vampiric priests and priestess, and it can get very, very real really fast when it comes to that energy manipulation and changing. And it just depends on what makes something vampiric is just the way we can manipulate and move around energy. So everything's vampiric. It's just what can we do with it, and what kind of good can we come out with our empathic nature, and how do we channel it? And I think that's the most important.
And CB says that they went over your gateway protocol with their Tibetan meditation teacher, and she was really intrigued.
Oh, that's wonderful
awesome
to hear. That doesn't surprise me. If she wants to learn more, I'm totally down to open a conversation up for that, because it definitely works. It definitely works. And CB also says, what do you think about the group use of your gateway protocol? It does work in a group, but even as a group, it has to be rather selfish. You're the one tuning in. Try not to get wrapped up in what the other people are doing, but it does enhance the process if more people are connected to the frequency, for sure.
And we do have to go now, because I have to do some work for some of my clairvoyant clients. If you would like help from me, if you want a reading, if you want to check out our online courses, we have video classes. He has one-on-one classes. You can also book time with me for a consultation if you need spiritual counseling. All that stuff is linked in the description of this video. You can find my website, and then also Vermilion's website, thevioletgateway.com. Sorry for cutting it a little bit short today, but I have to get to work helping people, as we do every day. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back again
next week. Yeah. Nicholas says do more of this often, every week on Thursdays. Yeah.
So. Every week. We're here every week on Thursday.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Bye. Please subscribe.